Yo, what up, goons? It's your boy Beastly, and I'm back with another episode of the Bate Escape podcast. You know, the podcast dedicated to all things solo sexuality and goon culture. What's going on? I've missed you these last 2 weeks. I hope that you are doing well, and I'm so glad that you've tuned in and are listening to another episode of this wonderful, highly informative podcast that I know you're sharing with the people that you love, or your neighbor, or your coworker, or your favorite bank teller. I don't know. Anyone and everyone who's cool enough to listen to this podcast. Make sure you're telling them. Make sure you're subscribing, you're following, you're commenting, you're liking, you're doing all those really great things. Okay. I have a very special episode today. My special guest goes by the name of Father Marc. They are a Phallic High Priest leader. They are ordained, leading men to bond through cock, lust, sex, and masturbation. He is a pornosexual. Talking to Father Marc was a very interesting, special experience, and I just want to give a general like trigger warning. We talk about a lot of different heavy subjects. In this episode, we talk about physical abuse, we talk about suicide, we talk about conversion therapy. There's just a lot of information um, that could potentially trigger people when listening to this episode. So I want everyone to have that trigger warning before they start listening. And at any time during this episode, you feel yourself getting triggered, take a break. You know, turn it off, listen to some peaceful music, go for a walk, you know, revisit the episode when you're in a much better mood. I just really want everyone to listen to this episode as you all do with all of my episodes with no judgment, and really take to heart what my guest is saying, and the wonderful information that we're sharing together, and the conversation that's being had. So, like I said, trigger warning, you are warned. And if you're not in a good space, totally cool. Go listen to last week's episode with Duty to Me. That was a really fun one. And then come back to this one when you're ready. So, thank you again for tuning in. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I'll check in the end. Um, yeah, enjoy. I'm doing well. How's it going for yourself?
I'm doing all right. No problem.
I recognize those paintings in the background behind you.
Yeah.
Those were hot
Right.
when I first saw them, and I was like, oh, those are like really sexy. How have you been?
I've been all right. Tuesday kind of got me down quite a bit, but hey,
Yeah,
we're
definitely.
gonna we're gonna make
Yeah,
it through.
yeah. Do you want to take some time to talk about that?
Oh, we could. It's very frustrating to me,
Yeah, no,
because
definitely.
we've been through a lot. I've been through a lot. I was born right before the Stonewall riots back in 1969, and it's like, here we go again. It feels like we're just being thrown right back to all that all over again. So
1969 must have been a great year.
shut up, you young little whippersnapper.
I'm such a whippersnapper. All right,
Are
cool.
you?
So for those,
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I'm, I feel like no, not at all. Actually, I'm very much in my daddy era. For those listening to the pod, I'm joined by a very special guest. He goes with the name of Father Marc. We're going to talk about why you call yourself Father Marc and a lot of the work that you do in the adult entertainment industry. Would you consider yourself an adult entertainment performer? Is that fair to say?
I would say so. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I would go
Okay,
along with that.
cool. So I typically like record episodes, so I have them because it just, gives me time to like book guests and edit them and things like that. So in the time of this recording, We just had the 2024 election, and it's upsetting to me, obviously. And yeah, I think Tuesday, I actually woke up that morning, or I woke up Wednesday, and I went to go vote. I did my thing. I was very positive about it. I was keeping a positive outlook on the whole situation. And then I woke up Wednesday morning and it was just called, and I was just like, oh my God. So I texted my friend and I was like, how are you doing? Like, did you hear the news? It's like, yes. And we actually got out. Like, we went out, like, we were home and we're just like, let's get out of here. Like, let's just go somewhere, do something fun, just to like kind of take our minds off of it because we just needed really to decompress because it was just not the outcome that I was expecting.
Nor half of America.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating part. And the frustrating part to me also is I don't think an awful lot of people that voted for who I call the orange turd, I don't think that they had any concept of what they were voting for.
None at all. It just, I
Yeah,
feel like this election, more than the first time this person was in office, really does show, it's shown its true colors. Like this country
yeah,
is built
yeah.
on really bad beliefs and outdated, archaic ideas of what this country should be. And I think at this, I think that's why I was so conflicted because before the first time around, I was like, okay, like I could just try my hardest, I can live through this, I can like cope as much as possible, and like not really ruffle any feathers, not really have a
Right, right.
conversation or like um an opinion about it, but like I can't do that this time. Like it's so fucked up
Right.
what happened to this country, and
Yeah.
like it really just showed it. More than anything, it just goes to show that this country just hates women. And it was just so
Hates
evident
women
to
and
me.
hates trans and hates gays and hates
Hates all
the
of
whole
us.
god.
Absolutely. And so I was just like, I can no longer like put on a facade of like, it's fine. We can just like live our lives in harmony and try to get along with each other. No, like this is an obvious attack on who I am as an individual. And
Right, right.
all I can do is just like fight in my own communities and like kind of make change in the vicinity where I am. And I encourage everyone to do that for themselves and just be hyper vigilant and just
Right.
don't take any shit.
Yeah. I am very grateful, thankful that I live in California.
Same.
I feel really bad for friends that live like in Tennessee or in Alabama, guys that write to me on my Twitter account and that type thing. Oh my God, my heart breaks for them. I don't know. It's it's going to be a hell of a lot easier for you and I here in California than it will be outside of California. And
Yeah, no,
I
I
fear
agree.
for them and I fear for their life. And I've talked to way too many people, not this go around yet. And hopefully I don't, but I've talked to so many people that have been on the verge of committing suicide. Um, or drugs or alcohol have taken over their lives because they can't cope with the shit that's happening, and
Yeah.
I fear that that is going to escalate. And I just feel like I've been slapped in the face and hit in the gut all at one time.
Yeah, no,
So, and it's
definitely.
not time for me to turn another cheek. I'm over that shit.
Yeah,
This is not
it's
my turn the other cheek and let them slap me on the other side. No, I'm not
it's
gonna do.
you're totally right. Like I feel like I needed to take a couple of days to like really process what happened, but I feel even more I feel more of a fire within myself to really just mobilize. And like I've never really felt like a revolutionary spirit more than I have now. Like I want to go volunteer and I want to like help support. Like it's things that I've never really done in the past. But now I'm just like, no, how can I make a difference? Like how can I help support marginalized communities and my people in my community and really just show face? Because I feel like just being present, like showing up is
Mhm.
an act of
Yeah.
fucking rebellion at this point.
Right. Know I'm behind you. Know if you need any help or support, I'm here to support you, you
Thank you.
know?
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
It's going to take all of us to work together as a community. I'm
Yep.
tired of it, to be honest with you. I'm tired of fighting. I know I need to keep fighting, but I'm tired of it because I feel like I've been fighting my entire life.
Hmm.
That was the hope and the promise of having Kamala coming into office,
Yeah.
was I felt finally I don't have to keep fighting. But then, all of a sudden the gut punch in the stomach and says, "Oh yeah, you do have to keep fighting." It's like, fuck you. I don't want to keep fighting. I'm done. But I
Yeah,
love to have
it's
that
ex
spirit, and I love that, if I can encourage you or any other young person or older person for that matter, I'm going to do it, and if that's going to be my lot in life, then so be it. I accept it.
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you have a very large community that is ready and able and willing to help you out. And I'm talking about not just like your online community, but just like the work that you've done, empowering men to live authentically and have really fulfilling sexual lives and all that good stuff.
And I will
So
never stop doing that. I will never ever stop doing that. That's my
you're
fire. That's my passion.
It's absolutely right. And so let's get into why I wanted to talk to you on this podcast.
Okay.
Because do you
Okay.
remember the first time I sent you a message?
To
Probably
be
not.
honest,
Let me
not
remind you.
really.
Well,
Okay.
because I had
Yeah.
been a follower of yours for so long. And when I first got on social media, it's a whole community. X is huge. There's a lot of like adult content creators. It's basically the hub of where people make their money and how they can post and promote
Mhm.
themselves. And along my X journey, I stumbled onto your account, and so a lot of the things that you were tweeting about really resonated with me. And then some of them just made me really fearful. And so I remember DMing you and was just like, I find you really interesting, yet equally frightening. Just by some of the things that you were saying, because I was just like, oh, like, I think it just hit a nerve within me because I was questioning a lot about myself as a male, myself as a sexual human being, like where that journey was leading me to. And I feel like a lot of your content, I was like, okay, like I'm feeling this, but it was just felt like if I committed to the things that you were promoting, like it just felt like a point of no return for me. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Do you get
Tell
that a
me more
lot?
about that.
Well, it was just like, this idea of, I am a masturbator, I'm a soul sexual, I'm a baiter, and I do hold a very high space for my penis and, my sexual energy.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I
Mhm.
think what was frightening to me was this idea of completely disregarding all of the things that I grew up with in terms of religion, in terms of all the things I was indoctrinated to believe growing up,
Mhm.
and then accepting this brand new, really a way of life. Because I did some research and I went to your website, the Phallic Brotherhood, and I was looking at all of the imagery, and I was reading a lot of like the prayers and the different things that you write about, and it just I don't know, it just felt it was triggering to me in that way.
Mhm.
Do you get that a lot from people?
I do.
Okay.
Um, but I want you and the other listeners to keep in mind that I came from that background that you're talking about.
Hmm.
And I had to really reconcile an awful lot of things. Um, and I am not ever, ever going to mandate or whatever that people have to believe what I believe or even embrace what I believe. But I do want men to feel empowered however they can be, whatever that means to them. And I am going to do my best for to to help men come to terms with their sexuality, embrace their cock, embrace everything, that every fiber, every cell of that cock and what it can do for you and what it can say to you and what it can mean to you. Um, and that's totally, not totally, but that's the crux of the whole thing. It's not forsaking all of your beliefs or anything like that. You don't have to. Um, I did because of what I've seen, what I've heard, what I've felt, what I've experienced. Um, but I know that's not for everybody, and I don't want it to be for everybody. I want it to be, I want, I want you to be you, and I want you
Mhm.
to be, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to feel joy, and I want you to feel optimism, and I want you to feel orgasmic pleasure. I mean,
Mhm.
that's where we're all that's that's what unites men together. So
Orgasmic pleasure, or
that,
or
yes,
or
yep,
or dick cock.
or cock, yeah, all of that, yeah,
Yeah,
all of that,
definitely. Yeah, and I
yeah.
feel like because I was doing some reading last night, and I was just like, I was going through the motions and like, what does this really say to me? Like, what is this really speaking to me? Like, why am I so afraid? Or not afraid, but just like, why do I find it intimidating? Um, and I don't think I really solidified an answer, and I think I'm still searching, and I think that's part of my own journey, and I like to give myself grace enough to to read your words or your media or your philosophy, and then read others, and then kind
Mhm,
of just like it's a mixed bag, right? And you kind of pick out the
yeah,
pieces that apply to your life and that make you feel, like you said, celebratory. And also too, I think for a while in the past couple of years, like being around sex work and sex workers, just trying to find, I feel like maybe I've lost my way a little bit, and trying to get back to really the heart of why I started, you know, um, being a part of the community, or why I felt so passionate to speak about the sexual space. And I think for me, it was really on a much deeper level to try to understand my own self in terms of like my own sexual vulnerability and intimacy, and more though so than anything, really my connection to others. And I think I was in a place where I wasn't finding a lot of connection with many people. I'd gone through a lot of traumatic things in my life. And I thought, you're right, like cock does really unite and brings us. I've talked to so many different people from all over the world, and the one thing that we do have in common is this penis. I mean, granted, I'm in the beta community, but I do find it to be like a really powerful space for men to come together and really talk openly and vulnerable about a lot of the issues that are affecting us on a much deeper
definitely,
level.
yeah, yeah, yep, that's very true. How are you doing?
In terms of
Are
what?
you coming to terms with everything pretty well, or are you
Um,
finding a place, or are you still struggling, or
no, I think I'm still like, I think I'm just constantly, I'm always just constantly learning and trying to surround myself with education and resources and information. I'm a curious person by nature.
okay,
So I'm
good.
constantly just kind of like asking myself, why do I feel this way about this person? Or why do I feel this way about this thing? Like, where was I taught that? Is that inherent to me? Is
Hmm.
it really resonates with me? Is that who I am as a person? Um, do I like these things or not like things? All of the
Right,
questions that you
right,
one would ask. Maybe I'm like too self-aware, I guess, too. Like
right,
maybe
right.
painfully self-aware to the point where I'm just like, I don't
I
know.
know. Been there. I know. Yeah.
It could be very troublesome sometimes. And get
Um,
confusing. You get lost in a way because there's so much information there. But I think I'm in a good place now where I can definitely say I know for sure I don't like this thing. I think that's
right.
where I feel really confident, where I know for sure that I don't like something.
Do you do you know or do you understand where I'm coming from? Or
No, that's why we're talking today.
okay.
I want to know more.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
before meeting you, like I I think when you meet people online or you see people online and you see what their work does, you create like this persona, right? Like you create like
Mhm.
this person you don't really know who they are. And one of the first things you said before you agreed to be on this podcast was like, you should come meet me. Let's meet. Let's chat. Because I was going to Palm Springs in the summer of this year, and I was like, I'm gonna be there. Maybe we can hang out. And we hung out. You invited me to your place, and I just have to say you have a sick setup. It's a great bait space.
Yeah, I
Do you
love it.
show
I
off
love
do you
it.
show off your big wooden cocks online? Have people do people see
Yeah,
pictures of that?
yeah,
Oh, okay. For those of
yeah.
you who haven't seen it, let me describe his bait. He's showing me his bait cave right now. It's great. So Father Marc has these huge, how tall are those structures, would you
7
say?
foot.
So there's these two 7 foot cock carvings. They're huge. They're like these massive, like I would say altars
Yeah.
in his bait space, and they're amazing. And I was like, holy shit, like this guy is like the real deal, like oftentimes you're like, people are faking it, they're not about this life. But when I went to your place, you were definitely about that life.
Yeah.
Tell me more about when this all began for you. Like when did you get introduced into like sex content creation and adult work, and like when did that start to manifest in your life?
I have always, not always, but after after coming out and accepting my sexuality and that type thing, I fell in love with gay porn. And I I would I would rent gay porn from our local video store, and I would come home and I would copy it onto another tape, and I would make copies of every video that I ever saw, and I had them all alphabetized and numbered and you know categorized in my computer, and I could do a search on the company that made the video, the title, the actor, the director, you name it. I could do all of that because I just love the shit.
Yeah.
Well, one day, back in, it must have been 97,
hmm
I was watching a porn video, and it was the most god-awful porn video I'd ever seen in my entire life. There was no connection between the guys. It was just very, very yuck. I don't know. And I just looked at my partner at the time and I said, I could do a hell of a lot better than that. And I just threw it out there. I had no intention of acting on it. But he
hmm
looked at me and he said, "Why don't you?"
hmm
And I said, "I don't know. I could." And I went out and we went out to San Francisco. And it was on that trip. It was my first time in San Francisco. It was on that trip that I walked into the card shop where the two penises were.
hmm
And I went up to the penis and I hugged the penis and I kind of whispered, "One of these days, I'm going to own you." And many years later, that's what happened. But
hmm
in the meantime, I was hired by Titan Media to do a video, and I
hmm
did one with that. Um, and ironically, the first video I ever did was Fallen Angel. That was the first installment of Fallen Angel. They then went on to do like five different more, series of the Fallen Angel series or whatever.
hmm
But I thought it was interesting because of my religious background that I was in the first scene of the first Fallen Angel video. And it was just kind of
So that video
ironic.
starts with you having sex. Like you're the
Yeah,
first scene in that video.
yeah.
Nice.
So, um, and under the name of Mark Hamilton, and I still go by Mark. I actually changed my middle name to Mark Hamilton. I fully embrace that time period in my life, and I love it. But as I did one video, then I thought, well, I could do another one, and then I thought, well, I'll do five. And then I thought, well, I'll do 10. And it kind of grew on me. And then I ended up doing over 25. But it was during one of those video shoots. I was working for Dickwad Video, and it was, I don't know if you're familiar with Dickwad videos, but it's a lot
hmm
of bareback, a lot of water sports and that type thing. And I was on my knees in front of this guy, and he was pissing on me. And I looked up, and there was this aura, this I hate to sound dramatic or anything, but in my mind, there was just this bright, warm, wonderful feeling about it. More so than anything I'd ever experienced in my life. And I stopped. And all of a sudden, the director yelled, "Cut." And he goes, "Mark, come over here for a minute." And I got up and I went over and I said, "What?" And he says, "Mark," he says, "we've been watching you through the camera. What's going on with you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And Dan looks at me and he says, "It looks like, from what I can tell, you almost look like you've seen God." And I
Hmm.
started crying. I said, "I did, you know?" Um, and that was a big epiphany for me. And I had no idea where that came from or why that came to me or what that meant. But it started me on a journey. And I started looking on Bait World for other men that had had a similar experience. I started researching phallic worship, and I, this whole world opened up to me. And in 2014, I connected with a gentleman by the name of Father Francis. He was the high priest of the Temple of Priapus. The Temple of Priapus had been founded back in around 1973, I believe.
Hmm.
And they actually had a building, a sanctuary where they worshiped the phallus. Um, and he took me under his wing and he mentored me. We would talk on a regular basis every Wednesday night, faithfully every Wednesday night. I had a training session with him. And in 2018, he invited me to an event which he called the Cockabration. And it was going to be in Montreal, where his home is now. And I went, and there were only a few of us that showed up. And it was rather pathetic in a lot of ways because there were only a few of us that showed up, and I was expecting a much larger group of people. But it was during that time that Father Francis announced to us that he was getting old and he had been diagnosed with cancer, and he wanted somebody to take his place in the Temple of Priapus and take over his role. And without asking me, without talking to me about it or anything, he looked at me and he says, "Father Marc, you're the one that I want to take over." And
Hmm.
I was shocked and I was blown away by that. And that was the beginning of my being who I am,
Hmm.
or identifying who I am, I guess is a better
Yeah.
way of putting
Yeah.
it. And after that meeting was over, I walked outside with a few of the other guys and I said, "What do I do? Where do I go?" And they looked at me and they said, "Father Marc, look at this group. There's only a few of us. Just let it die." And I said, "I can't. I can't. I'm not going to let it die." And the original people that were there all kind of fell away. And I said, "No, this is not going to die with me." There's too much truth to it, and there's too much that I believe and that I hold on to, and I'm going to get it going. And I have, to a certain extent. It's
Hmm.
not the thing that I would like it to be, and it's a hell of a lot of work. And there is no money coming in, so anything that I do is, out of my own pocket or a few generous people off and on that have donated some money. But um, I cannot. I cannot silence my truth.
Hmm.
There is too much that I know, that I have seen, that I have felt, that to hide it and to hold it in for me and me only, that would be the gravest sin, for lack of a better term, that I could ever do. I
Yeah.
have to be who I am and talk about it. And as I said, it's not for everybody. And
Hmm.
and it's kind of like an AA meeting. You go into it and you take what you want and you leave the rest, you know?
Hmm. 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 Gosh, I mean, like hearing you speak about it, I kind of get the sense that there's like a huge, do you feel a certain amount of pressure to, I mean, at that time when you were asked to take over the role of in this position,
Oh
like
yeah,
what were you
definitely.
feeling at that time?
I was feeling very overwhelmed and I felt very unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Father Francis kept assuring me that he was going to be there for me. And, if there were any problems or any questions, well, as time went on, I felt more and more on my own. And so I had to gather around me individuals that were willing to help me and individuals that understood where I was coming from. And that was difficult. And it's still difficult to this day. We
I
have
feel
our
like,
website.
hmm I was gonna say, like, I feel like even more so back then, because I feel like you didn't have the technology that we have today, right? Like, you couldn't just go online at that
Oh, I was.
time.
Oh, no. Yeah, you could.
You could?
I was on Tumblr at that time. And I was
Okay.
posting a hell of a lot on Tumblr.
Okay,
And then
got it.
they discontinued or, banned all pornography and so on for that period of time.
Yeah.
It's slowly starting to come back. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it wasn't
yeah,
not it's not like it is today. Like I just feel like today's a little bit
no,
more readily available.
right.
It's faster that you can connect in a way that wasn't then. I feel like maybe it was a little bit slower because it was just at the birth of kind of like this digital like
Right,
social
right.
media
Oh,
era.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So, yeah, so here I am, and I'm still doing it. I stepped back a little bit. In 2020, we renamed the Temple of Priapus to the Phallic Brotherhood.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it away from as much of that religious aspect that I could. Father Francis was very steeped in Catholicism prior to,
Hmm.
all of this, and there were a lot of rituals and a lot of shit that I just don't relate to. I was brought up in a Baptist home, and you know, there, there's not any pomp and circumstance like there is with the Catholic Church in the Baptist Church. So a
Yeah.
lot of what he was talking about and that type of thing did not resonate with me, and it still doesn't to this day. And I don't want the Phallic Brotherhood, the Temple of Priapus, whatever you want to call us. I don't want people to feel like it's a religious organization.
Okay. If it's not a religious organization, is what would you call it? A cock organization?
Yeah. Um, if nothing else, I don't know. I've never been asked that. Um, a self-help organization, I guess. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, it could
it's
be.
it's it's a community of men that share a common belief in the
Yeah.
power of God.
Yeah.
I, you know,
Yeah. No, definitely. I'm curious to
um,
know like how it's positively enhanced the members of your community. I just feel like I am a big advocate of supporting individuals that find a truth within themselves in this vast world. I mean, it's huge. And everyone is so nuanced. Um, and I just always feel like if you find something that positively impacts your life, then I support it. You know, regardless of my own, ideologies, my own beliefs, if it's changing you, if it's making you a better person, then I say that's fine. Go forth and do that thing, and I could support from afar. So I'm curious to know, like those who have accepted penis as their god, like how has that impacted their lives? Like what is the messaging that you receive?
first, can I kind of explain to you my philosophy
Yeah,
about the
absolutely.
cock? Yeah.
Yes.
Um, for me, um, the cock, I believe, is a manifestation of God, of whatever your God might be. Um, for me, I come out of a religious background, Baptist, that it was constantly pounded in my head, the quote, if it's not of God, then it is of Satan. And I struggled with that for so long because my Sunday school teacher, my preacher, nobody ever talked about cock. Nobody, and so I came to the conclusion that, all right, then what I believe is satanic, and I'm going to embrace that. And as I stroke my cock, my cock to me becomes like a lightning rod, a communication um, to my God, which, as I said, to me is Satan. Um, and it can be that could be whatever you as an individual can relate to. Um, and I can feel God through my cock. I can touch God through my cock. I can communicate to God through my cock. I can be I can hear communication back from cock or from God. And so cock is not God as in, some Monty Python movie where cock is floating around there out in the cloud in the universe,
Right.
looking down on us or anything. But but cock is become a way to identify with the outer world, with the supernatural or whatever it might be. And and I'm oftentimes challenged by people um when they say, what about women? And I say, their vagina can be an instrument, just like my cock is. Their vagina, their clit can be exactly what my cock is.
Hmm.
They can experience the same thing I am. I am just not a woman, and I do not relate to women at all. So if there's any women out there that want to begin, on the journey that I've been on, I'll be more than happy to take them along with me. Um, but for me, it is cock. So when you ask me how it changes people's lives, when you go to an event, or if you have a masturbation party, or you watch people online as they bait in front of you and as they goon in front of you, it takes on a whole new meaning when you witness them and you witness for yourself just how powerful cock can be. It is so much more than wank, 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 come. Ah, great. Now I can go to work. There's so much more to it if you just take your time and just feel the power that is there. Um, and that's how I've changed people's lives. I've made them slow down. I've made them take time. I've made them acknowledge that there is more to your cock than just some sexual organ that's there to wank on as quickly as you can, to come as quickly as you can and get on with your day.
Yeah.
Um, so and and that is very empowering for men. It, to
Yeah.
stop and just your time and breathe and just feel and and the same when you're having sex with another person. When I have sex with another person, I don't make it this great big cathedral experience or anything. If I'm down on my knees before I take that cock in my mouth, in my head, in my the undertone of everything, I just say thank you, cock. And I acknowledge that that thing, that sexual organ is a deity to me. And they don't need the person that's getting their cock sucked does not need to know that. They don't have to, I don't have to go wild over it. It's
Yeah.
just acknowledgement to me. And when I acknowledge that, then it feels better, then it feels right, then it feels like there's more of a connection that's being made than just sucking a cock.
Yeah, definitely. Hmm. Listening to you speak, I think the word that's sticking out to me is feel,
Hmm.
feelings. And I
Hmm.
think growing up as a man, because I do identify as male, pronouns he, him, I think for me, being attuned to my penis and understanding my own sexuality has given me a space to feel things that I was not raised or shown how to do. Like feeling
Right.
things in my life was never modeled to me. I grew up with a very hard father, um, in which we don't have a relationship. But so I turning to my penis and turning to soul sexuality and cock has allowed me to open up to myself in ways that I never was given the opportunity growing up.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and in
Mhm.
that, I found empowering. Right. And so I think, when I do read your Twitter and I read the messages and the replies that people, particularly men, because I feel like most of your audience is men and the people who follow you are men.
99.9% are.
Yeah, I think that they hold that space, and I think that's what I find really comforting, and I find that space really safe.
Mhm.
Um, because there's a wide range of masculinity and men, to from one, I think you're on the opposite spectrum of someone like Andrew Tate, right? Or some like this individual who doesn't feel or who does feel but is really aggressive and hard and misogynistic and just like not anything that I would ever incumbent myself, but like I could have in a way, I could have just owned this and just kind of run my life in a way that was really devastating to others. But that was a decision that I chose not to make. And so I think it's even more powerful to inhabit the space that you're in,
Mhm.
um, to own that power, to manifest it in positive ways. And I think that's always been, when I dig down deep inside, the reason why I started this work is to showcase that you can be a man and you can be soft and vulnerable and open and you can be powerful, but you can use that power in really constructive ways.
Right. And don't get me wrong either. My God, there is nothing that I love more than to go to a bathhouse and just see people fucking the shit out of people. I love that. I love all of that.
You're such a
Piss on me all you
voyeur.
want to. It doesn't, when people are pissing on me, oh my God, it's just like the most euphoric thing in the whole wide world. And yeah, I'll cuss and I'll I'll be nasty, and I love to be nasty. I love it more than anything. But I also have a respect for cock and what cock is and what it stands for and how it
Yeah.
unifies people. The joy that, when you go to an event where there are a lot of men having sex, look around you. There are men that are just having the time of their life. And why? Is it because of their finger or their toes? No, God damn it, it's because of their cock. They're loving every bit of it. And
Some people are into toes.
they are. They are. But and fingers and ears.
But what I think
Name it.
and
I've
ears.
seen it all. I've heard it all.
You've seen someone with a dick in their ear.
Pardon me?
You've seen someone with a dick in their ear.
No, but I'm sure if
I've,
somebody could figure out a way of doing it, they would do it.
I think so too. I think men are just like pigs. Yeah, and also too, I have a profound respect for cock. Like I have a deep understanding of my privilege. I have a deep
Mhm.
understanding of my anatomy and what it's capable of doing. And
Mhm.
I do respect that power between my
Mhm.
legs. I know that I wield a lot of it. And it's conversations that I don't necessarily have with a lot of men because I
Mhm.
don't think they fully understand it yet. They'll get there, but I think it's important to say that we do hold a lot of power, and I think as men we should be able to respect that and
Yeah.
understand how we choose to demonstrate that power with others and even within ourselves, for sure.
Right. Now, I will say too that I am, as I said earlier, actually, that I am a huge fan of porn.
Hmm.
And I
Me too.
think that maybe I watch porn a lot differently than a lot of people do because
I
I
think
I
I believe that.
I watch porn keeping the cock as the main central focus. And
Hmm.
when a man is using his cock, whether it be with another man, by himself, or even with a vagina, I have been just blown away by some straight porn that I've been watching lately, only because the actor in the movie or in the video, not really actor, the sex worker, for lack of a better term, um, is using his cock and is finding so much pleasure and is giving so much pleasure with that cock. And he's proud of that. And he's invited us into his life for us to sit there and watch him, fuck another man, fuck another woman, suck another cock. You stop and think about how many men there are in this world and how few content creators and porn stars we have in this world. And
Hmm.
every porn star, myself included, that has done porn is inviting you to watch. They're inviting you to watch the sacred thing that is happening. And the sacred thing that is happening through their cock. And
Hmm.
when you see that rigid cock just fucking away and plowing away and shooting its load, oh my God. I I get hard thinking about it right now. And then
You're a
there's
sex
the other
enthusiast.
there's the other flip side to it too, that you're watching a porn and you're going, this guy doesn't have any idea. He doesn't have any concept of what his cock is doing. He has no concept of chemistry. He has no concept. He is there just to make the $600 or whatever it is that he's going to get paid at the end of the day. And I
Yeah.
just flip by that porn and I don't watch it. But man, oh man, when you get that porn video where they don't give a fuck what they're getting paid or what they're doing, and they're just having that connection and that chemistry. Oh my God, there is nothing better in my life than to watch that.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. I feel like when I watch a video, I could definitely tell, when it's fake and when they're just kind of in it
Yeah,
to win it
yeah.
and they're just not really in the moment and maybe they've had a long day or they have like they ate a burger before, they're just not feeling
Exactly.
which is why I'm more
Exactly. I
inclined
know.
to like watch like amateur porn, right? Because it's just like, oh,
Yeah,
like it's much they're there because they want to be there and they're gonna have a really great time and
right,
they're gonna
right.
show that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I love the POV where it's just like someone put on an iPhone and just like push record and just kind of like forget that even the camera's there. Like don't even worry
yeah,
about it. Just
yeah.
kind of do your thing. Yeah, that's definitely the kind
One
of
of my
porn.
favorite videos, it actually was a straight video, but one of my favorite videos was this guy that was fucking a woman, and it was okay. But then you the you saw from a distance, and you saw him look over, and you could see him looking at the camera, and you can see him the thought process that went on in his head, that the viewer couldn't see his cock, and the viewer couldn't see what he was doing with his cock. And he repositioned the woman that he was fucking. He repositioned himself. He repositioned the camera. And then he gave a thumbs up to the camera and just started pounding the hell out of her. And he was excited about you seeing what he was doing. And it was
Sure.
like, that is what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's joy and excitement, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that speaks a lot volumes to people who are definitely exhibitionists and people who love to be
Hmm.
watched and
Yeah,
like to show off their sex.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
definitely there's a spectrum, and I think there's a lot of people who are on the opposite side of that spectrum who are really
yeah.
private about their sex and like choose not to
Right.
show it and really want to just keep it to themselves or to the people that they're having sex with, and that's totally valid as well. I want to be able to hold space for both
Absolutely.
extremes. And I think ultimately the messaging that I would love for people to understand is like you don't have to be ashamed of your sex, whether you're doing it in private or whether you're doing it in public. And I think as our conversation unfolds and I'm talking to you now, I think that's really what's triggering me now. It's like this sense of shame growing up, and um
Mhm.
it's really nuanced, it's really intersectional. Like growing up as a gay child, growing up as a Mexican gay child, growing up as a solosexual Mexican gay child. Like it's all so layered. Um, coming from a place of extreme religion, like I myself too I was actually grew up Christian Baptist.
Mhm.
And that was really difficult. And so I think now in my journey, it's really has been a place of unlearning a lot of that indoctrination and unlearning the ideas that were fed to me, or the messaging of saying you are bad fundamentally because you are these things. That's really fucking hard to do. Um, is that
Oh
something
my
that you've
God.
had to do in your own life?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was an individual that went through conversion therapy.
Oof.
So I've been through that shit. And
Yeah.
um and part of my conversion therapy unfortunately um came with an awful lot of physical and mental abuse.
Mm,
I was beat several times and that type thing.
mm,
So now to embrace my cock, embrace my sexuality, my masturbatory practices and so on. Oh fuck yeah. I have to really because there are many flashbacks that I get oftentimes while I masturbate sometimes that says what you're doing is wrong. And but I've learned to say fuck you, what I'm doing is right.
mm.
And there is my head tries to take me back to those times
Yeah.
um, where I was I was beaten and I was told that I if unless I gave up my homosexuality and my love for penis that I would never be anything in my life, that I would, be a failure, that I would not be in God's will. I heard that
Mm,
for a fucking full year over and over again. And it was really difficult. It was very,
yeah.
very difficult.
Yeah.
Um, and I had
That's so
to,
triggering. I'm really triggered when you say that.
yeah, it was tough,
Yeah.
but I'm here and I made it. And I don't want anybody to ever have to go through what I went through, ever, ever. And that's why I do what I do. Um, what I went through was painful. And if I can save people from going through that, I want to be there. And it's not, I don't live a perfect life. And stroking my cock on a daily basis, cock has been my therapist. Porn has become my therapist. It's the place that I can go to just focus and just release any anxiety that I have and any stress that I have. Um, I've I've had um, I've had some mental health issues where I've just felt overwhelmed and stressed and yeah, I at one point came really close to committing suicide. Um, and I've talked to therapists and I've been to therapy and but in the end, my therapy really, really is my 2 to 3 hours at night when I can sit and I can stroke my cock and I can celebrate the true me of who I am and know
Yeah.
that I don't need to be molded into what other people want me to be. I can be who I am and I can love who I am and
Hmm.
I can share that love with others and hope that they love too.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Um, yeah. I feel like solo sexuality for me has always been a safe space. And
Mhm.
you're right, I do deal with my own traumas. I sit there and I pleasure myself, and I get these, I get these flashes of trauma responses of like, this is bad, this is wrong, this is evil, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, and so deep rooted, and it's so fundamental to who I've been and who I was raised to be, and it's like I don't see that ever stopping, and I think the goal is to not stop it. I think the goal is to learn how to adapt to it and change and
It'll
continue
lessen.
continue to tell yourself that you're good, that you're a good person,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that this is fine, that you're not hurting anyone. And I think it's a solo practice that you can find peace and love even within yourself.
Right.
More, yeah,
Right.
with yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
And share it with others if you so desire, which
Right. Right.
I often desire to do.
Good. Good. Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm an exhibitionist. I'm definitely an exhibitionist. I'm definitely a nudie. Um and I like that part of myself.
Mhm.
And it's taken a really long time to understand that and to step into that and to be really proud of that aspect of who I am and as a person and
Right.
individual. And and to share it with other people. I
Right.
think now
Right.
in my like my dad era, I feel like I want to be able to share that with someone in a very loving way. I
Mhm.
think in my life journey, I'm ready to like embark on that next deeper connection with an individual or individuals, in a more, solid connection rather than these fleeting moments of pleasure, but really work on being able to sustain a relationship and find safety and comfort within that.
Mhm. Right. Yeah.
And I feel like
Um,
penis can help.
yeah, definitely. It's odd for me because I have found a hell of a lot of joy just being a solo sexual.
Hmm.
And when people now talk to me about doing a video or a scene with them, I look at myself and I don't see the Mark Hamilton that was there 25 years ago when I did videos, you
Hmm.
know? And that to me is really difficult, really difficult. But yet on my X account, I'm constantly encouraging men to put themselves out there and to do things and to, not be ashamed of who they are and what they are and how they look. And when people ask me to do a video, I just I have to step back and say, okay, you need to live what you're preaching. You can't talk the way you're talking and not do it. So I have stepped out of my comfort zone. Oh my God, it's stepping out of my comfort zone right now because and people can tell me whatever they want to about how they think I'm hot or how they think I'm sexy and all that stuff. But when I look in the mirror, I personally do not see that. So it's very difficult for me to do what I do sometimes. And
Hmm.
but I do it to prove to others that they can do it too. And it's okay. And I've come through it and I've been okay. And I look back on it and I think about the fun that I had when I was doing the videos recently. Do I want to keep doing it? No. No, I know that I am not the apple of anybody's eye right now, but I did it, and I'm glad that I did it, and I'm proud that I could do it. And I'll just
I
keep
don't
loving Bach.
I don't think you know that. I feel like you're the shiny apple in a lot of people's eyes. I mean,
I know, and that's what
you
people
have,
tell me.
you
And
have
I've
about
talked to other.
62,000 followers on X. I don't believe for a second that one of them isn't onto you, or like I'm sure the DMs are lit. Like,
I,
what are your DMs
I
like?
am. They are, and I'm grateful
Yeah,
for that. I'm so grateful for that. There's no
yeah.
doubt. But
I think it changes. Like, I think yes, I think it's real, and I want to say thank you for being vulnerable and talking about what you feel about your body now, or like who you are as a man now and your sexual energy. I think that's all real, and I think it changes, and I think it gets more powerful as we age. It's like it's like concentrated energy that just continues to grow, and especially someone
right.
like you who's lived a long life in this space and like has um sent out a message of self-love and acceptance and sexuality. I just feel like you harbor that energy, and I think that's why people are so attracted to you, because I feel like there's so many people out there who feel like they can't obtain those things, and you're mirroring them essentially, right? They see you and they're just like, look at this older sexy daddy who, is still adult content creator. Like, it doesn't ever fade if you don't want it to. Like, if you're so inclined to continue to pursue this passion and continue to like just express your sexuality, you can do that well into any age, any body, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The
don't sell
frustration
yourself
is that
short.
no, but you've got to acknowledge too that as as you get older, as I get older, ejaculations are much more difficult to come about, you
Sure.
know?
Sure.
There are, and to be fucked, because things happen with your body,
Sure.
hemorrhoids and everything else that pop
Sure.
up as you get older, it
No.
does make it more difficult. But there's
But there's ways around that. Like, there's
people
so many different.
understand that.
But I think that's what's so powerful about sex. Like, there's so many different ways to have sex. Like,
Right. Oh,
you don't
yeah.
have to use
Yeah.
your butt or your anus, and you don't have to ejaculate. I'm a firm believer you don't need to come in order to have sex. So I think
I'm a firm believer of that myself, but you tell
I know
porn
you
companies
are.
that, you know.
Porn, schmorn companies. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's like my body, my sex, my rules, right? Like, I get it.
Right,
Like, if this is, and you can go to these porn companies, you can say, listen, this is where my body is now. This is what I'm able to produce, and this is where it's going to end. I'm not going to force myself. I'm not going to force my body to do something that it's not going to naturally do. This is what I'm going to give you. Are you going to take it or leave it? And that's totally fine. People have choice.
right, right, right,
But I want people to understand, like, the expectations placed upon you and your body are completely somebody else's. They're not your
right.
own. So you can
Yes.
have
Thank you for
you,
saying that.
you're
Yes.
welcome. You can have the sex that you want to have in the capacity that you're able to achieve it. And that's it. And if somebody's judging you for
Exactly.
that, then they're fucking assholes.
That's right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
My work here is done. Goodbye.
No, but I think it's just like so like yeah. Anyway, that's where I come from. I think that's where I'm at now, and I think in the time that I've been in this space and the people that I've talked to, and the advice that people seek or the questions that people ask, like, ultimately your sexual identity, your sexual expression, your sexual body is yours to own, and you can do it in any way, shape, or form. Clearly, I'm doing it. I'm on some sexual spectrum. I'm a solosexual.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
engage with sex with others, but most of the time I'm only engaging sex with myself, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I can go months without having penetrative sex, and I'm totally fine with that. I don't have any
Me too.
shame
Me too.
anymore about that, because I don't care what you think. My sex is valid to me, and that's the only opinion that matters.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so I think it's
And if you
important
can
to
add
stress
to
that.
that a layer of sacredness of your cock and honor your cock, that just makes your solo sexual life
Yeah.
mind. Oh my God. It becomes so mind blowing. I I will share with you. I literally watch porn every night. I do not watch network TV. People talk to me about what's on Netflix or what's on, HBO Max or whatever. I don't know. I don't give a fuck because every night I am in my room in the masturbatorium here with the two great big penises, and I'm stroking my cock, loving every fucking moment I'm watching on on that television screen.
I mean, listen, I think if a lot of people had a setup like yours, I feel like they'd be doing the same damn thing because you have
Well, come on over.
a sick setup. I've been over. I know. I've been there
I know
firsthand.
you have. Your listeners haven't.
Our listeners have not, but if they ever get a chance to, I'm sure they'd be welcome to the Bate Cave to celebrate who they are as men, and I think that's a really beautiful thing about you.
That's, the one of the most thrilling things in my life is ever since we moved into our home. We moved into our home in 2019. And it was later in that year that I said to my husband, Stefan, I said, I want to dedicate our property, our land to cock, um, to
How did you feel
penis.
about that?
Yeah. And we've had many bait parties, we've had many sex parties, we've had we've rented our space out for events, we've rented our space out to porn companies to shoot videos here.
Mhm.
And every time we open up our home, we open up the masturbatorium as well. And a lot has happened in this masturbatorium, let me tell you. And I
You could
love,
feel it. I believe it. You feel the
yeah,
energy. Like you feel
yeah,
like the ghost of sexual sex past.
good, good. And that's what I want. That's what I want. I want, people have come to the house here and they've come into the masturbatorium and they look at me and they said, "You didn't tell me. I feel like I should have gotten naked before I walked in here." And I
It
think
kind of
maybe you might have been one of those people that said that to me.
I think so. I walked in and I was like, I feel like I'm overly dressed. And I was just
Right,
it
right.
was in the summer, so I was wearing like what, like a tank top and like a pair of shorts. I was like, I gotta lose all this stuff. Like because I just feel like your space is such like a space of like you're right, like divinity. Like it's just like God, I don't need any barriers between myself and this like sexual energy. Like I just and it needs to permeate through my entire body to feel it. And that's what I felt. And I did feel it wasn't scary. It wasn't intimidating. It really was pure joy and like celebration and like to say like God, I can love myself in all of these things and it was just like this own little like magical force field of like pure like self pleasure and like self joy and like as humans we should be able to like inhabit that and like not be ashamed in whatever capacity you find yourself loving that just do it for yourself, man. Like you owe it to yourself. Like we're all born of sex. Like I don't think it's anything that we should deny from ourselves. I don't think it's anything that we should need to shy
No.
away from. And I think we need to have a much better, you know, health education system. I mean, that's a topic for another podcast. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it
to
is.
like to be
Definitely.
able to like
But you're right.
really honor yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. You're right too. I feel like I really do hope that the listeners are listening to this with an open mind and to be able to look inward and lean in and get curious and ask themselves the questions of themselves to say like what does this really mean to me, like what are the things that really resonate, what are the things that don't, not so much, and just kind of like take those things and apply them to your own life,
Right.
and ultimately use it to enhance yourself for the better. That's always what I want. Like I always want people to just be better, be better. And I think, I don't know, in some ways, shape or form, like I feel like it does it to me on a subconscious level. Like if I can make you
Right.
better, it makes me better somehow. Like I'm just kind of like I'm promoting the things I wish I would have been promoted to, or the things that I wish I would have been taught or told about or modeled.
Right.
And so I don't know. Hopefully, the people listeners get that feel from the people that I talk to.
Yeah, I hope so. Especially now, because I think now as we go into the political climate that we are,
Hmm.
we're going to need to have strength and a foundation and a love for one another and for our cocks. Um,
You're so
that's
right.
that's going to pull us through.
You're so right. Like I just used to be so scared of showing up. Um, I don't know why I still have to like ask those questions of myself, but I think now more than ever, I'm just like, how I want to help. Like, how do I help? Like, where do I go
Yeah.
to? Like, who do I call? Like, where can I donate? Like, I just need to like go out there and advocate for myself and like keep, especially like the solo sexual beta community. Like, we're so sweet and we're so caring and smart and endearing and special. And I think for so long, like I just think solo sexuals have been overlooked and outcast, and I've felt that all my life, and I'm just like, not anymore, God damn it. Like I
Good,
can
good,
I
good.
can take up space. Like this is valid. Like I have a fucking voice. Like I have a podcast that I can reach people, and I don't care. Like fucking hate comment. I don't give a shit. Like I dare you. Like let's go. Like I'm fucking ready for it.
Right,
Like I know where I
right,
stand, and I think that's like my journey has led me to this confidence now, and I think it's just like fueled by what's going on in this political climate to say like
right,
I can make a difference, no matter how small or big. Like you can just do it in your own vicinity, within your own group of friends or your own group of lovers or wherever you are in the world. You can start to empower yourself. I don't want people to like not feel empowered. You can
right.
own that shit.
Um, right. And and for me,
Hmm.
when I have cock in my hand, I feel a lot more power and I feel
Hmm.
a lot more strength and desire to do exactly what you and I are doing.
Yeah.
And I get that through my cock. If I did not masturbate on a daily basis, if I did not acknowledge my cock on a regular basis, I would not be doing what I'm doing right now. But it's
Hmm.
because of my cock and the joy that I get and the joy that I see other people get. That empowers me. And that can
Mm.
empower anybody. It does not have to it 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 doesn't have to be something that you consciously have to think about, really.
Yeah.
Start baiting, as you know, as a solosexual, you start baiting and you start feeling empowered. You start feeling good. You look in the mirror and you see your cock and you love seeing your cock and how great it is and how it feels and and that's the whole thing. That's it just cock just perpetuates the strength that we need.
Yeah.
And and we need to keep doing what we're doing. And thank you for doing what you're doing because I can't do it alone. I need people like you.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Um,
And I hope that I can continue to help you. So, and
yeah,
I'm
no,
always,
definitely. I think I feel like I understand you a little more for sure,
uh-huh,
even more so from the first time that we met. We weren't doing a
uh-huh.
lot of talking when we met.
That happened.
Yeah. But I think now, like having this conversation, like, I think I feel peaceful. I feel um safer in my solo sexuality. And I do definitely feel empowered, and I feel like I do understand you. I think to be transparent, maybe I did have some preconceived notions and I did judge. But I feel like
That's
those things have been diminished. I feel,
good,
yeah.
good, good,
Um,
good.
Thanks so much for talking to me on my podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to
Um,
speak about your experience and speak about the work that you do. Tell people where they can follow you and learn more about the work that you do.
um, I am on X, and that's where I'll be for a little while. I don't know how much longer I can
I
support
know X
the,
is a weird place. I
it's
know.
just I
I
hate
do.
it,
Same.
but it's the one place that I can do what I do and reach the number of men that I do.
Definitely.
You do what I'm doing on Telegram. You can't do what I'm doing on MeWe or whatever. You just
or Instagram.
yeah, no, it's just no because
It's bad.
yeah. So I don't
Um,
know. People tell me Blue Sky is something that I should look into. Tumblr may be coming back a little bit more with their sexual content. I don't know.
well,
But
everyone
for now,
thought
I'm on,
Blue Sky
I'm on it.
Blue Sky was gonna work, but it didn't. It didn't take off because they weren't even allowing like gifts for videos. That might change now. I think a lot of
I
people are
don't know.
moving over there because I think they realize like X is just like disgusting. Um, but
Well,
listen,
X is not disgusting. The owner of
the
X.
owner, yes. Let me clarify. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, the owner of X is gross. Yeah. So you can follow. You can you can follow Father Marc at father_Marc. That's MARC.
Right,
They are on
right.
X, and then you also have a link to the Phallic Brotherhood, and there's like more information, and there's more texts. I would say prayers, right? Prayers
Prayers and yeah,
and
rituals.
stories. I feel like also too when I was looking at the website, I feel like there was um or passages or like letters maybe from followers
Mhm.
like talking about their experiences. Did I read that correctly? Is that true?
There is some of that.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I have not gone onto the website for a while.
Hmm.
Um, and I get frustrated when I do because I know that the website is not the greatest, but I I literally do not have the money that I need to hire somebody to make it what it is, what it should
Sure.
be, what it could be.
Yeah.
And it's difficult on top of that, if I did have the money to find somebody that resonates with
The
what the
work.
website is about,
Yeah.
to not make it look like, some, San Diego Zoo kind of website. I mean, you, you have to you have to be able to resonate with the content in order to make the content real and come alive on a website. And it's hard to find anybody that resonates the way that I'd like them to, that can really devote themselves to it.
All right. So here's a call out to anyone listening to this podcast who is a website designer, a graphic designer, someone who would love to help Father Marc update this website. Reach out to me, reach out to him, let them know that you believe in the work that he's doing, and you are inclined to help. And I think that he would be very
I would
appreciative.
love that.
Very appreciative of it. So all you solosexuals that are talented with web design and HTML and Java and all that really cool stuff, help a brother out. Spread the good word about sex, solosexuality, masturbation, all that good stuff.
Yes, yes.
Again, thanks so much. When I'm in
Thank
Palm Springs next, I'll reach out and we'll go like grab a burrito or something
And hug
and
and
hug
bait.
and bait. Of course. That was that was definitely in the plan.
And I'll get a cum shot for you. I don't care how old I am. Get a cum shot.
You don't have to do anything. You just got to be who you are. And trust me, you had no problem being who you were that day. All right. Thanks so much for
I
listening to this
love you, man.
episode.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you tons. Thanks for
Thanks.
including me.
Of
Yeah,
course. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. Thanks
absolutely.
all of you for listening. Again, you can follow Father Marc on X at father_Marc. That's MARC. I'm your host, BC Bader. You can find me on all my socials under that handle. And I will see you on the next episode of the Bate Escape podcast. Bye. Hey, what's up? It's me, Beasley. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Did you enjoy listening to my conversation with Father Marc? I really hope you did. And I hope that it stirred something in you, and that you're looking inward and focusing on your own sexual health and journey and well-being and all of the wonderful things that make you the person that you are. Um, Thank you again for listening to this podcast, specifically this episode. It was a deeply personal one, and I'm really happy that my guest, Father Marc, was able to feel safe enough to share his story. And He's doing really beautiful work with his social media. So go follow them. I don't believe they're on X anymore. They're totally over on BlueSky. So go follow them on BlueSky. Thanks again for sharing, liking, subscribing, commenting this podcast. It really helps with visibility. Again, I'm your boy Beastly Bader. You can follow me on all my socials under that handle, and I will see you on the next episode of the Bate Escape. Later.